Good. All right, we're going to be covering week 6, or in week 6 tonight, and go ahead and go into there. We're going to be looking at prototypes, screen rotation. The in-class exercise, we're going to be doing an app called My Fave Bands and creating a master detail app. You'll be downloading about 8 images from the web of your favorite band and implementing it into the app for your in-class. Your take-home is going to be a build upon that, or a totally separate assignment for your take-home if you are implementing it into your final app, which we'll go over in a second. So the reading for this week was chapters 33 through 40, a lot of reading on file access and file management in iOS, and we're going to go over that tonight. Yeah, there you go. And in this 6th reading, there is a PDF file in there called Week 6 CIS280.pdf. If you want to click on that, it's actually the presentation we'll be using tonight, if you want to follow along with that. There was a pre-podcast I had emailed everybody about for watching prior to class, which is basically what the app will be doing on the in-class exercise. And in the 6th in-class exercise we'll be doing in My Band app, you'll be doing the fork and clone to the My Band repo. We make sure that's linked to the correct one. Yep, it is. And so make sure and do the fork and clone of the week 6 screen rotation master detail, which is inside of week 6 in class. And make sure you're logged into the Mac GitHub and online GitHub before you do the fork and clone. Okay? So you can be doing that as I'm discussing the beginning discussion topics. We'll be looking at, by the way, after you do the fork and clone onto your desktop, there is inside of that GitHub a readme.md file, which goes over the steps we'll be using in class on creating this app called My Bands. And what you'll basically be doing for the in-class exercise is replacing My Bands with your bands, and also your band, My Band names with your band names for the in-class exercise. When you're through with the in-class exercise, as always, you're going to commit and sync that back to your GitHub repo and then submit the URL below on the in-class. For the take-home this week, you're going to add upon what you've learned tonight for master detail using images and screen rotation, and you're going to create a master detail app project of your choosing. I put in here of your interests, basically, called Your Interest app, where you create a new master detail iPad project named My whatever, say my food, my music, my whatever you like, my cars, my trucks, and you're going to basically create an app that has 10 photos on it, and then of whatever your interest is again, and then it can be food, places to visit, places you want to visit. In the portrait orientation, it should allow you to show the menu of your list of items and show the photos vertically. And then on landscape orientation of the iPad, it should show the menus as well and the photos horizontally. You'll add whatever needed code, learning from the in-class, submit it again to GitHub, and submit the URL below. There is an added challenge to this one. If you want to add icons to your take-home this week, there's a podcast here in the 6 assignments that you can watch, a very short podcast on how to create icons. I recommend using, for the app icons, there's a number of things you could use. You could use Photoshop. The one I recommend is Pixlr.com, which I'll write up on the board here. Pixlr.com is a free online resource, and I have no marker up here, but Pixlr.com is a free online resource that allows you to create images and manipulate images. Let me just add that to this right now. I'm going to put in here Pixlr.com so you guys can have that link. But follow the steps in the tutorial. It's not a required, but I would recommend you doing the challenge. It's not difficult to do, to create icons. The example one I have you guys use tonight, it has an icon in there. Well, I'll go ahead and put the link to Pixlr. Pixlr.com, again, is basically like an online Photoshop. And I went ahead and put the link in there for you. There is a complete source code which links back to the in-class. So that's the first option for your take-home assignment. The final app edition, which remember last week I told you starting with this week, you have a final app option for your take-home where you can create a prototype, which we're going to go over tonight what a prototype is. You can create a prototype of your final app. There's a podcast for that I've created as well in step 1 in your 6th assignment. Before creating an app in Xcode, it's a good idea to create a prototype app using an online tool like fluidui.com. You can create a mocked up prototype of the app that your team can discuss, give feedback, and make UI changes before you begin. I put caps before in caps, before you begin creating it in Xcode. It's kind of like building a house. You wouldn't want to build a house without the blueprints from the architect. This would be the blueprint of your app prototype. And why not use a free tool, fluidui.com, which I've used dozens of times for local clients. And what's great about it is they get a link in an email. They click on the prototype link, which we'll look at in a second, an example of one tonight. And they can make changes on the fly and say, I like this, I don't like that. And we can do it over a conference call while they're looking at it. They can install the link on their iPhone or iPad and run it on their device. And it's basically just, and I know some of you are already using it, I know Tracy's using it already. It's basically a simulator of your device app before you build anything. Because if you don't do it this way, some type of prototype system, if you try to start building without a prototype, you're going to be forced to create a prototype. Whether it be in step-by-step incremental prototypes, which can take a real long time. Well, instead of doing that, just on the front end, I'm giving you opportunity this week. Hey, create a prototype this week of your app using fluidui.com. And again, if some of you have already started that, just keep working on it. But if you've not started a prototype, which I did mention, I believe, a couple weeks back when we did the final app idea, that you could start playing with that if you wanted to, and I know a couple of you already did. So we'll go over fluidui.com, which is a prototype tool. You'll have to create an account. It gives you 10 pages on fluidui.com to create an app. Create a simple prototype. It's a simple drag and drop environment. There's no code involved, where you can basically simulate your app as it is in real time and would be used in real time. Buttons, labels, text boxes, images, videos, whatever. Can all be in data grid. Everything can be in there. Share your prototype with your team or your friends and family that's going to be testing your app for you, which I've already gotten a list of people already. And by the way, I have gotten pretty much everybody's devices already in. So we're all ready on my end anyway for when you are ready to test in a few weeks. Start testing your app, 4 or 5 weeks or whatever it is for people to start testing it. You'll be ready because I have all your UDIDs. And then examples. Let's go ahead and show you an example here of some Fluid UI examples. Here's one called Caught Doing Good is the name of this app, created with fluidui.com. Click the above button to capture doing good moment. This app is designed to capture folks you come in contact with that are doing good. That's the concept of the app. So you just simply click the capture button, take a picture. Yeah, I want to use it. Name it. There's a description. Students getting iPads, successful grant proposal allowed students of CIS280 course to receive loaner iPad minis for the semester. Save it. Now it brings me to a list, a data grid list of different ones I can look at, and I can advance to the different ones, just like it would be in a real-time app. If I go back, it should take me back to the home page eventually. So that's fluidui.com. It'll allow you to do all of that. Not a real difficult tool to learn. It's one of those tools that you just play with and you'll learn it. Set up an account. It has tutorials on creation of it. And then if you do mess up, worst case scenario, delete and start your project all over again. But it's good practice because, again, by creating a prototype, it allows you to flesh out your app before beginning coding. Does that make sense? Because the more prototype time you spend and perfect it, the easier it is to create the app once you put it in Xcode. Make sense? Because you have all of your criteria and requirements that you want prior to entering Xcode. So that's the end result, what it looks like. It gives you a nice QR code too that you can basically click on with a QR code reader. The people in your meeting can click on it or point their QR code reader to it, and it'll actually load this simulator onto their phone or their iPad. I've used it literally probably close to 100 times in Rockford alone and local businesses that have needed prototypes created. And so sometimes prototypes stop there. They don't want to go any further. Maybe they can't afford it or whatever, but at least they get to see a prototype of what the app could look like. And so it helps tremendously on the development lifecycle to have a prototype. So definitely highly recommend doing that this week. So when your team's decided on, I think I have another one here too, maybe. Let me look at this one. Might be the same one. I don't know. No, this is a different one. Here's a prototype for an actual real app created or being created, almost getting ready for published to the App Store. Anybody heard of Stenstrom here in town? Construction company, and they also own a petroleum branch and all the mobile stations. This is for the mobile petroleum side of Stenstrom, and it's an iPhone app to keep track of for owners of the managers of the gas stations to do reporting. It also allows for compliance of reporting. They have monthly reports where they have to have a compliance report created, and that's what this app is used for. So this was the beginning stages about a year and a half ago with Stenstrom on a prototype app. This screen here is showing where the end users in the field that own the gas stations can schedule a call, schedule a tank and line testing, schedule an OSF inspection, request a quote, and then these are clickable where they could go in and, we actually went in meetings and tweaked all of these screens, and I actually went in live into fluidui.com and made changes on the fly as we were talking about it in the meeting, and they could see it in live mode change. And when I saved it in Fluid UI, they refreshed their pages on their phones and got to see the real live change in effect. And so it was pretty dynamic. They thought it was pretty awesome because they could see the change immediately. Didn't have to wait a day or two, a week or two, just saw it right now as we were speaking about it. And so we spent a week or two on prototype with Fluid UI. Granted, there was some minor changes post project creation of prototype, which is going to happen. But nothing to what it would have been if we'd have just said, well, yeah, I'm wanting this kind of app, and just start making it, just start putting it together. Let's do that. And I've had to do that before, and Mike's had to do that before. That's not the best way to do it. Okay? And so this will help you tremendously. I'm giving you a whole week to do it, by the way, to just play with prototype. Now, Tracy, you're new to prototyping, right? Okay, I know you had some struggles, but overall, what's your feeling, or as far as learning curve? If I was to give you a scale, 1 being easy, like super, super easy, 10 being super, super difficult, where do you range it at? Between 1 and 5 or 5 and 10?
I would say 9. It was really easy. It's just some stuff that's not there, like there's no savability.
Yep.
The timeline doesn't really function properly the way it should.
Right.
So when you send your URL to like somebody or your email so you can preview it, mine didn't actually play through the timeline. So
okay. Gotcha.
But that's just the free. So I mean, if you upgrade,
yep. You do. You do get more option with the paid one. But for what you guys are doing, the free, once you learn what you just mentioned around that, it's fine for what you're doing. But there's other tools out there, by the way, that does this. And this one I've just found it's easier to use on the end users as well. And so prototyping, when your team's decided or when you've decided if you're the one working on it, I would recommend giving it though to somebody at home or friends and family to look at. And in the prototype app, let me just log in real quick to this one. Let's go into the Fluid UI site. I'm going to log in with my credentials here and show you at the end here. Wrong one. Fluid UI. So let me log in. Okay, so basically here is the pages and the different pointers that each one of the pages are pointing to, or different objects are pointing to. This here's a play button. I can hit play and it'll bring up the app just as if, you know, this is what the end user you want to see. This one right here, this button here, is where you can click on it and share it. And just make sure you basically can link to preview it and send it to somebody. That's what I generally do. I click this link to preview and copy that entire code in my computer memory and email it to the person. And then on the other end, they click on it and then they can view it in a web browser. The web browser, I recommend using it. Not the other ones don't work, but Firefox seems to work a little better than others with this fluidui.com. And so when they send it to, they open it up from their device in an email, using an email client, it'll actually load in a screen, and then they can, if I click test on device, they can actually just, if they're in the room with me, they can just use a QR scanner and scan it. It'll load it on their device, and it can save it. And so there is, you know, also within here, a number of different other tools that you can use, but yes.
Well, I'm wondering, how do you create the project in this website? Because I'm kind of confused on how do you.
Have you ever logged into it?
I like logged into it once and
Yep.
it was confusing.
When you log into it the first time, let me log in from, let me log out here actually. Let me just create a new project. And see, I'm on a free account, so let me log out and I'll create a new project real quick. I'll just create a new project just like you would, okay? Let me go ahead and sign in. Let's create a new one. Okay, so I'm at the page here. Click to add a page. I'm just double clicking to add a page. That's all I'm doing. Or I can come up here and click and add a page. Once I double click on one of these pages, then I get an interface where I can start adding stuff. And so let's just do something real simple here. Let me go ahead and put in a object here, like a button or something. So I'm going to put a button here. And say I want this button to go to the page 2. I'm going to call this one, I'm going to drag this down, and let me put in something up here at the top so I'll know what this is. Let's put in a header bar. I'm going to put in here home or something like that. Okay, that's my home page. Now I want this button to go to the next page. So I clicked on this button. Then I click on this link here. I can link it. I can click a toolbox and it'll give me more stuff up here where I can change the color of the button or whatever. But all I want to do is link it. That's a real popular way to do it. Link it, go to this page. That's what I want it to go to. And let's say on this page I want to do the same thing. I want to put up here at the top a some type of text area so I'll know what it is. Let's go with toolbar up here. Let's trash that. I don't want that. I don't want a toolbar. Header bar is what I want. So this is my page 2. All right. And let's say on this one I want to put a button as well. Drag a button in there. We'll link that to the third page. Come to the third page. Let's do the same thing. Come over here to the header bar. This is my page 3. And hopefully you're seeing what I'm doing here now. So now I'm basically going to just go back to the very beginning and by hitting play. There's my home button, or my home page with my button. Go to page 2, go to page 3. That's as simple as it is. I mean, seriously, that simple. And what's cool about it is if you click on that gray area anywhere here, you can drag your objects around to see things globally where they're at, vision, you know. So in a meeting, if I have 10 pages, I can say, well, let's talk about the description page. Okay, we'll bring it up. We'll just start editing on the fly right now. You want a text box here, a button here, you want an image here, because they have placeholders for all this. So if you want, you have placeholders for different types of bars, different types of layout functions. Say they wanted an image over here. You can put it, and not only does it put placeholders for images, all right, but within here, within this placeholder for image, I can actually bring an image into this if I wanted to show it. A lot of times you just want to show a placeholder, that's fine. Or I can do, say, a different background color for that image, or for that image viewer. Hit play again. Now I've got that image in there. Okay? So that's as simple as it is. It's not, don't make it too difficult, because it's really not that difficult. Now I'm not saying there's a learning curve, there is, but just like with anything, you go in and start playing with it. You're only allowed 1 project per free account and 10 pages per free account. Okay, if you want more than that, you do have to pay. But most of your apps, I'm guessing 10 pages will suffice for what you're wanting to do by the final. If not, it's definitely worth paying the cost for that. If you're going to be developing, you know, continually on developing apps. So, any other questions about Fluid UI?
Well, can you download,
Do what now?
framework to the project from there?
Do what now?
Can you download like the framework to the project from there?
No, you can't. No, it's just basically a prototype is all it is. The only thing it allows you to download, Mike, is if you worked on custom images for, like, say, icons or buttons or something, it allows you to download those, but that's it. There's no code involved, and so to download, if that makes sense. There's no code behind it at all. It's used for every type of app you could think of, from iPhone to Droid to Windows phones. In fact, when you buy the premium version, you can isolate it to certain types of devices and get more tools for those devices, if that makes sense. So no, it's just a purely prototype only purpose. But good question. Any other questions on the prototype? So definitely recommend that. Again, that's your option for your homework assignment. And if you've not done prototyping, whether on a napkin or on something, this is highly recommended to use. All right. Now, if you find another tool besides this one, you can use another tool. This is just one I'm recommending. Okay. You can use another tool. If you want to do napkins and take pictures of them and post each napkin as an image this week as your homework, that's fine. I just want to see if you're going to do this as a homework assignment for your final, that you do something in prototyping. Use something. This is the one thing I recommend using. So that's for your homework. Now let's get into notes for this week. So again, there's a PDF in the 6th reading this week, which I'll bring up my keynote for that. Not a lot of notes this week. I want to get right into the lab. Hopefully you're going into week 6 in class and forking and cloning while we're going over this, so it'll be ready when we get there. Remember, when you fork and clone, you need to be logged into your local GitHub on the Mac and the GitHub on github.com. Oh, and FYI, this third Wednesday, it's not on my slides, Cocoa Heads meeting. We're going to be remoting in using the robot. If you've not seen the robot yet, we are going to be bringing it into this class later this semester. But if you've not seen it and you want to kind of see what it does, this Wednesday in 213 from 6 to 7, I'll be using the robot to remote into 2 classes from 6:15 to 7. I'm buying pizza as always for that group. And Cocoa Heads basically is just a group of students and community members and faculty that meet to talk about tech things, mainly Apple stuff. But we talk about other stuff too in there. And this is one of the things we're talking about this semester is basically this semester we're using a group as a brainstorming or brain tank, think tank for how to use a robot. So far this semester we've used it in admissions to bring kids into the college to visit certain places on the campus. Wednesday we'll be visiting 2 classes. Last week we went to IEEE conference here and went in and visited the IEEE conference that was here. The other cool use, and if you're interested in helping me with this, I'm going to need a lot of help on this one, is the way I like to use it is I'd like to see a fleet of these on campus, like at least 1 per division or 2 per division. And what I want to see is a student that has a severe disability to where they could not come to campus at all. No way can ever come to campus. The only way they can take classes is online right now. Is to use this robot to take the entire 2-year degree and go to every class, face-to-face class, and that they wouldn't otherwise be able to, attend every class for 2 years, and at the end, walk across the stage or wheel across the stage using this robot and get their diploma. That's my dream. That's how I want to use it. And for $2,500, that's pretty cheap to do. And so we've already got the grant money for this one, and we're looking at grant money for a whole nother fleet of them. But I'm out of everything that I've just mentioned that we're going to use it for, that's the most exciting. That's my idea to use. That's why no other school's using it like that in the nation. We'd be the first one to use it like that. And to me, that would be, as a teacher, very fulfilling to see that. So if you'd be interested in helping me with that, because there is a student of mine I had in high school, his brother is a quadriplegic. He's been that way for 30 years. And his name is Miles. And Miles I know really well. And he's one of those students that could not ever attend one of our classes face to face. I'm in talks with him, and he's going to help me test it. Miles is this semester in a couple of classes. I'm going to let him just take whatever class he wants to and sit in and go to maybe some student events and stuff like that. And he's a big sports fan, Miles is. So we want to maybe take it, has nothing to do with RBC, but take it to BMO and do something down there for him to see this year. And so he's going to be my tester. Miles is pretty geeky. He knows computers, and so he'll help me out. But if you know anybody that you think this could be useful for, family, friends, whatever, let me know, because I'd like to hook them up and maybe let them help us test this and get it worked out. So I could talk all night about this, but anyway, Wednesday from 6 to 7. If you're interested in finding out more, we're going to talk more about it, but we are going to wheel into Stephanie's class and networking, and then Tom Lombardo teaches a PC repair class on Wednesday downstairs in the basement. We're going to wheel into his class for only about 10 minutes apiece. We're just going to greet the students, tell them about what telepresence is, and ask them some questions. But towards the end of the semester, when you guys get more savvy on your code, I'm going to I already have some code for the robot, and there's some ideas I'm wanting to do. And it'll probably be a summer project, but we can start it by probably April or Mayish maybe. And maybe some of you guys could help me do this. And just some apps we can add to the robot or features since the developers gave me the full SDK that I'm looking forward to doing. So anyway, Wednesday 6 to 7, 213. Okay, so let's go ahead and go over some top apps this week. Paid apps, I just captured 8 for the paid and free. Minecraft, number 1. Trivia Crack, number 2. Heads Up. If you've not played Heads Up yet, everybody in here now has an iPad. I know, because you either gave you a loaner or you already had one. So that means you can download Heads Up. It does work on the iPhone, by the way, but it works not. It's just a bigger screen on the iPad. This weekend, another homework. No, just kidding. Maybe I should make it a grade. Download Heads Up and install it and play it with your family this weekend. It's an awesome app. It's a lot of fun, because what's really fun about it is, to me, is my family gets quite loud together doing anything. Maybe some of your families do too. But, you know, what's funny about this app is it just shows a word on the screen, and the people have however many seconds to, they can't say anything about the word. They try to make you guess what it is. And while they're doing that, it's recording them the entire time. And so at the end of the session, you get to see all this animation going on around you, from your kids to your dog to the grandma to the quiet person that never talks, screaming off the top of their head, you know, in this video post game. And that's, to me, fun. It's the funnest part of the game. So Heads Up. What's cool about in the free version, it's free to download, but what you have to pay for it is if you add these other categories. 99, that's how they get you the 99-cent in-app purchases. But what's cool about the game is you can create your own categories. Like what we're working on is creating a category of historical names in our family, people in our family, basically, like a tree of life type thing, of names in our family, like Grandpa Joe or something, you know, that nobody knows about. We're gonna have to, basically, we're gonna put in there little attributes about family members that maybe, like my grandson definitely doesn't know, but he'll be able to find out through this game by talking about Grandpa Joe, who he never met, by putting in these little categories. So anyway, Heads Up's definitely fun. How many's played it, by the way? Because I've asked this before, but do you agree? Heads Up fun?
Yeah,
Now, does your family get pretty animated with it? Okay. We might show some video. Maybe if I remember next week, I'll show some video of mine. How about you? You said you play it?
Yeah.
So what's your assessment of the?
There's a lot of yelling.
And who else?
What is that?
A lot of yelling. Yes.
Yeah, we actually did it a couple weeks ago. We did the Android version.
Yeah, it's the same.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Kids have a blast with it.
Oh, yeah.
You're right. They just love watching
It is.
the video of
Yeah.
themselves.
Because the creator of the app, which Ellen, by the way, Ellen DeGeneres is the one who paid the programmers to develop this app. She thought of the idea because everybody, you know, when you go into your house, now my family, when the kids were growing up, we didn't allow this at supper table, but I guess a lot of families, you know, are on the phone during the supper time, right? No, anybody else not allowed to do that in your home? Okay, yeah, good. I'm glad there's a few people. Anyway, but you know, most people when they go home, everybody's in their own little devices. Now I'm as geeky as the next person, but when I go home, it's time to put the devices down and start talking to people, right? Start conversing a little bit. So this app was designed to where, okay, if you're gonna be on device, we're gonna use it to a positive way to communicate. So anyway, that's my little soapbox for a second. Heads Up is a great fun game for your family. Five Nights at Freddy's, I have no clue about that one. A friend of mine did play it. It's kind of a spooky, weird game, but it's a lot of fun, he said.
It's a game about like you in a pizza shop.
Pizza
Or
shop?
So, like what's it called? Yeah, it's like what's the
Pizza Hut?
the no it's starts with C.
Cliffhangers.
No.
Just don't play the game now.
Kids play.
Kids, Chuck E. Cheese.
Yes, Chuck E. Cheese.
There you go. I knew I did.
It's like Chuck E. Cheese, and it's like animatronics.
Okay,
and you're
gotcha.
a night god,
Yeah.
and these spooky things
Uh-huh.
start happening. The animatronics start moving.
Yeah, I heard it's a lot of fun.
And
Have you played it, evidently?
No, I've
You've
seen
not
it,
played it. You've
but
seen it. Okay.
I don't
You don't want to play. Yeah, that's the same way I am. Anyway, I've heard it's fun, but I know it's kind of creepy, weird. But anyway, it's very popular. Geometry Dash for math. Will school. So this is an excellent game too for folks, for kids in high school, even college level. Dash is a very good learning game. Then I have another Five Nights at Freddy's, and then game. Oh, this is another good one I want to get. I've not played it yet. I've seen the video of it. Is a Game of Life classic. Our grandson bought this. He was playing a little bit over the weekend, and this one, you remember the Game of Life, right? The board game, but it's on an app, and there's some cool things that you can do with the app that the board game doesn't do. And so, and then Afterlight, photo and video. That's top paid. Oh, back. Top free. Facebook Messenger. I use that a little bit. Facebook, Instagram, Trivia Crack, YouTube, SNL. Anybody get to see the SNL Sunday night? The SNL stuff. That was pretty good. If you're an SNL fan or you ever watched SNL in the 80s or 90s, or even if you didn't, I know a lot of kids got a lot of kick out of the SNL stuff. Now, some of it, for the most part, it was a pretty clean show. For the most part, there was some stuff in there that wasn't, but for the most part, it was pretty clean. But it was good. I like the homage to Jim Belushi, because he was. If you go in my office, some of you have been in my office. I have in my office on the wall the Blues Brothers poster, the original movie poster, and with Jim Belushi and Dan Aykroyd in front of the cop car. Anyway, John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd sang Blues Brothers on SNL. I thought it was pretty awesome because John's pretty talented too, and for a big guy, he can move pretty good too, just like his brother could, and do flips and everything. It was pretty awesome. So it was fun. So the whole thing's dedicated towards that night and some other stuff on SNL. The shorts, the SNL shorts, which are pretty funny. Snapchat, that one, if you're not familiar with, Snapchat is the video chats app that deletes upon open once you view it. One kid told me, yeah, but you know how you can get around that deleting is what? What do you think it is?
Snapshot.
Yeah, just do a screenshot of your phone, right? For Droid or iPhone users, and you do a screenshot and it's saved anyway, so it doesn't take too much brain power to figure that one out. Oh, if you do a screenshot? Oh, does it? Is that a new little piece they added to it? Okay. But still, they got it on their phone, right? And then Pandora, radio. Somebody said something about that Snapchat I thought was probably the most fitting description of that app. It's kind of the app for the shed behind the school when you were in elementary. Think about that for a second. The app in place of the shed behind the school when you're in elementary, junior high. And just, boys and girls, go from there. Anyway, but does much more damage, I'm guessing, than what we did behind the shed behind the school. So anyway, much more, not as innocent. Anyway, that one I don't recommend, by the way. But anyway, there's a lot of people that do use it. So week 5 last week, fork and cloning with GitHub. Hopefully you had time to play with that this week. Last week kind of did a lot of fork and cloning. Hiding keyboard we went over. Scroll views we went over. This week we're going to first jump right into the simulator, file access. Every time you create a simulator or run a simulator with an Xcode, it does build in your Mac environment a file structure for that simulator app to run. So any pictures or videos or file content, even the app itself, it does put on the Mac hard drive, which we're going to talk about where that's at tonight. And some of you might be using in your final app, let's say you're creating an app where you're going to use quite a few files from your app that are going to be like maybe PDFs or videos or whatever. So this file simulator access will help you determine where your files are at. Like for instance, I've used it in the past when I've created app programs with iOS that had databases. I wanted to see if that database was being created correctly. Prototype we've already went over. Images and rotation is what we're going to finish on tonight on your in-class. Basically, remember the My Faves we did on the website thing a few weeks back? We're still going to do the master detail this week, but instead of web UI web view, we're using images, okay? And then we're also going to show you how you use those images to be able to rotate your device any which way, and those images will stay in the right context as far as the fitting size of the image without morphing it or whatever the case may be. Also, the app, and it's not a lot of code actually, but I'm going to go use what we used last week, continuing what we used last week the rest of the semester, the step-by-step for each view. We're going to have 2 views this week, the master and detail view. You're going to build or download that code I have you download, and we're going to look at it and then have you replace some images with your images and some of the stuff in the arrays with your array of your favorite bands. So let's talk about simulator file access. So from your Mac, if you go to the home button or the home page or the home page of your desktop of your Mac, you can see the Go menu at the very top, right? The only time you can see the Go menu, by the way, on your Mac is if you're on the desktop. You've clicked on the desktop. And we'll go there in a second and show you. But we're going to go to Go menu, go to folder, library. The important part of the library part is the tilde. The tilde symbol, / library. Then we're going to go developer, and then core simulator and devices. So let me go there real quick on my Mac, and you can follow along with me. If you go to the desktop of your Mac, just make sure you've clicked your mouse on the desktop of your Mac on no object. So I'm clicking over here on the upper left corner of my Mac where I can see my Finder, File, Edit, View, Go, Window, Help. Okay. In order to get to the folder I want to go to see the contents of every Xcode project I've ever ran in Simulator, I can click on the Go menu and then go down to Go to Folder. Go to Folder. Then you're going to type in the tilde symbol, which is Shift, and then the key to the left of your the number 1 key on the top row of your keyboard. The Shift key, hold down the Shift key, and it's the key to the left of the 1. You see where the 1 key is at the top? You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The very left key, it's the second key, top down from the left. On your Mac keyboard, you should have an escape key on the upper left corner. Below the escape key is a tilde or the caret symbol. So it's tilde / library. And if it helps, I'll bring up the keynote slide. Maybe it's a little bit bigger. So basically, bring it up a little bit bigger. There you go. So that's the tilde symbol. Tilde / library. And then click the Go button. Click the Go button. When you click the Go button, it's going to bring you to the library. All right. Within the library, we want to click on Developer. So within the library folder, click on the subfolder Developer. Then there's 2 folders should be in there, Core Simulator and Xcode. So Core Simulator is what we want to click on. And then you should have Devices. And then you have however many folders are in there. I only have 1 because I cleaned all the rest of mine out earlier. You might have 10 or 12 or 15 of them, however many you have in there. And what this does is every time you compile an app in Xcode, a Core Simulator folder is created. And here's where the folders are for tonight's app on my overhead. And you'll notice inside of here, if I click on, if you want to just focus on mine right now, to kind of help, it has within there a data folder. And then within the data folder, there's containers, documents, library, media, root, temp, and var. And all I want you to know tonight is, the takeaway from what I'm showing you tonight is, this is how you access the files for your simulator, okay? Now, in order to clean out your simulator, if you're wanting to start from scratch on your simulator, here's what you want to do. And if you want to just watch me do it and I'm recording it, you can do it later so you don't mess up your machine, because you could. So don't do it. Just kind of watch me. Here's what you do basically. From the devices folder, I'm going to go and, by the way, make sure my Xcode environment's closed out, because that's got to be closed out. You want to make sure Xcode's closed out when you do this. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the folder I have in here, however many might be in there. And the reason I'm doing this is I want to make sure if I'm looking for a certain file, that all my files that are in there up to that point are deleted, because you'll notice you might have seen a lot in yours, right? And the names make no sense. Now, there's a way to find out the name, which I'll show you in a second, but the easiest way to do it is what I'm getting ready to show you, because when you're working on an app on your Mac, you're working on one app, okay, at a time, hopefully. So by deleting everything in there, you know when you go to create and compile your Xcode the next time, it's going to create, the only instance that's going to be created in here is for that app. Okay, so anyway, I've deleted everything out. Now, once I've deleted everything out, I'm going to fire up Xcode, and I'm going to do what's called a project clean. After I open up my project, I'm going to do a project clean, a project build, and what I'm doing is rebuilding that whole app within Xcode now. I'm not compiled it yet in here. Nothing's still showing up right now. I've not done anything. I've not done a run. It's not going to show up till I run it, but I'm not ready to run it yet. And again, just watch me on mine, and you can watch it later. So again, I did a product clean, product build, and then I'm going to go to the Windows command, and I'm going to go over to organizers. And in organizer, I want to delete any instant of my project, not archives, but projects. And you'll notice on mine, I've got all the projects I've run in Xcode, and it actually gives me a path there. But I'm going to delete down here. You'll notice down here where it says derived data, library, developer, Xcode, derived data, my bands, and then a weird number here. I'm going to delete that. Deleting that. And then sometimes you have to do it more than once. And now it's really gone. It says I couldn't find it, that means it's gone. Now I'm going to go ahead and compile this app, and it should fail if I deleted everything correctly. There it is. Unable to boot device because it cannot be located on disk. Okay. It says use a device manager in Xcode, or you can use a command tool to delete the device properly. And this is what I do. I click OK on that. Go up to the iOS simulator and reset content and settings. And it says here, all installed application content and settings will be removed to the trash. That's good, I want that. Because if you remember, I deleted from my Mac environment just a second ago from that folder. I did not delete it from the simulator. So that's where the error is. That's why it's popping up that error. It says, can't find what you're talking about. Can't find it, it's not there. So I'm gonna reset it. And now when I go here, there's nothing on my iPad to run because I've got rid of all the apps. Now you'll notice, boom, that one I just ran called My Fave Bands started up when I reset it because it was still running in the background. Xcode was still running in the background. And so if I go back to my home on my hardware, I should have in here, just like a brand new iPad or iPhone, I should have in here, let me go to my first page. Okay, there's my basic iPad. I've got calendar, photos, contacts, movie, settings, newsstand, game center on page 1. Page 2 is any apps, which is only one. This is what I just did. So by resetting, I now not only deleted stuff in my Mac environment for the simulator, I've now deleted it in the simulator itself to where now everything's running as it should. Now, I should now have a folder, as you can see, in the devices now. It wasn't there before because I deleted it. So the contents of this folder now will have the contents of my app and all of the data. Now, if you'll notice where it says My Fave Bands, that's actually the executable. My Fave Bands, that's the executable for the app. Going back, if I go to data, it's going to have a whole bunch of stuff in data. By the way, you'll notice there's 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 14 folders are created, and that's every time you create a brand new app, and the simulator will create within the data applications 14 folders. Those 14 folders all serve a certain purpose. Some of these folders have the content for this database, some content for your pictures you might have, content for images. And so basically, you go through and determine what's what as far as where things are being saved at, where my files are being saved at from this app. And the only way to do it is you go through here and click on these one by one. And since I just ran this, there's not going to be much in here, but I'm just kind of visually showing you. I'm going through all of the folders for this app within application. Because application folder, by the way, is the main folder application for my app I've just created. It's going to have all any data I might have put in there is going to be in there. Any database is going to be in there. And so each one of these I can go through and look at. And then the last one is shared, which might have some, that one doesn't have anything in it. So anyway, I just have a brand new folder, brand new app that has all of my folders in it from the app that was just created. So that's how you access the app folders that from that simulator, is by doing what we just did. Go to folder, library, go. And that's how you do it. And the reason you use that, and you won't be using it this week, I know. The reason I want to show you that is, as you're going along this semester, you might need it to specifically say if you're creating a file on the fly within your app, it would put it in that simulator folder, things like that. Okay, like you're creating a PDF file or something maybe in there, or you're downloading a file or whatever the case may be, it would be in that simulator, course simulator folder. Went over the prototype stuff. Images. Here's the tip on images, and we'll do it. You'll see in the app that you did a fork and clone. Anytime you create images or need images in your iOS app, always create a group folder. Always create a group folder. Okay, and we'll show you how to do that tonight. In fact, I think there was a group folder we created when we did the one of the apps a while back. I had you go to the project level of Xcode, do a control click, remember, and create a group folder. And group folders are just, it's a virtual folder within your app. When you create a group folder in Xcode, and say you go to the real folder in your Mac, you're not going to see that virtual folder. Okay, it's just for your project. And the way I suggest on folders is, group folders are made to host files specifically for that application. All right. Now this week we create a folder called images because it's holding images for our app. But let's say we had multiple types of images. So we had images for this week it's band, but say you had images for band, for cars, for, I don't know, recipes. You could create 3 separate folders for those and put in the images in those separate folders. Now when you viewed it on your Mac environment though, you're going to view those images all within the folder without any subfolders. Now let me just have you look on the overhead and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So from the forked and cloned app I had you guys download, there is a images folder in that app, and you'll notice on the overhead I've got in the images folder main, 38 special, Band Perry, Eagles, Joe Cocker, Journey, Leonard Skinner, Little Big Town, and Miranda Lambert. All right. It's in a folder called images, right? But now let me go and show you a trick.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
Is that just some mentioned?
Or these bands I listen to?
Is that your?
Yeah, I like these guys, all of them.
'Cause that's
It's
kind
an
of a
eclectic.
broad spectrum there.
It's an eclectic group. You're right. That just shows you I was brought up in a musician's home. Yes, because we listen to all different types of music. Anybody else have music people in your family? Okay, so you know what I'm talking about, right? You like, usually people are brought up with musicians, like my dad and my uncle both is session musicians is what they were. And they did play nightclubs, and they also played, my dad was president of musicians union, and all we had around our house all the time was musicians. Well, musicians, because I'm one and my dad's one and my whole family, musicians are weird. We're just weird by nature. And not only that, but they're always late for everything. Now, that's one thing I'm not late for much. I'm pretty good about being on time. But most musicians are notoriously late for everything. I'm talking not 30 minutes late, hours late, right? And they have no problem with that. Zero problem with that. Do what now?
Busy jam.
I guess so, yeah. Who cares, man? What's the big deal? Party doesn't start till I get there anyway. And so that's what I grew up with. Well, I grew up with all different types of music. Now, personally, country, kind of like rockabilly, kind of Sweet Home Alabama, and Leonard Skinner was kind of my genre. But, you know, I like all different types. So anyway, I've got my pictures in my images folder. All right, now I'm going to show you something. I'm going to go to my project level here. I'm going to control click, and you can open with Finder, show in Finder. What this will do is it'll show me on my Mac exactly where my project's located. I'm going to open that up, and you'll notice here's all the images here, up here, but notice there's no folder called images. It's not there. There's also no folder called icons, okay, because that's a group folder as well. So the reason I want to show you this was when you create a group folder in Xcode, it's just for management purposes within Xcode, right? But it's not going to mirror on Xcode. Now, you're probably thinking is, can I create a folder outside of Xcode in this environment here? Could I create a folder called my images and icons and put all those images in there and do the same thing? Oh yeah, for sure, you could definitely do that. Yeah, you could definitely do that. And I've done that before on larger projects. That way when I'm visually, you'd have to do it before, yes. If you did it after, Mike, you'd have to remap all those images again, which can be kind of tricky. But so yeah, so if you're going to do it before. If you've already started and you didn't, just keep going. Okay, maybe pick it up on the next group or something. But yeah, always do it before. Definitely do it before. So yeah, Ben, do you have a question?
I'm having trouble with working and stuff. So
Just watch on the overhead for right now. We're just going over discussion stuff. We're not getting into the app yet. So I wanted to show you basically that the groups that you create in Xcode are not going to be created on the file version of your Mac, but ones in Xcode are for management purposes only. So you can view things a little nicer and manage them a little bit better. Also, go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So the way the structure you see in the file viewer is what you're going to see on GitHub,
Yes. Yep.
not what you see in Xcode.
Right. The file structure you see on GitHub is what you're going to see on the Mac,
Right.
not on Xcode. Yep, you're right. So the other thing about importing images, when you're importing an image into Xcode, one of the options you have when you import anything into Xcode is a copy checkbox at the top of that import statement. And again, I'm just showing you this stuff. We're going to get into it in just a second, but these are some things I noticed you need to know. So, and let me just show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to go to my images group here. I'm going to go right click and add a file to this group. And I'm going to go ahead and on purpose here add another image that I do not need for this app, but I'm just going to throw one in here anyway. This one right here I'm going to add in. Notice the little checkbox here, copy items if needed. That's what I wanted to highlight. Okay. If that is not checked, always check it, because what it's going to do is it's going to take that file, and if it's not already in the directory, meaning prior to doing this, you didn't create your folders, put all the images in that folder for images, right? If you didn't do that prior, this will actually take it wherever it's at. In this case, it's in the desktop of my Mac, and it's going to copy it into the project folder on my Mac for that project. Make sense? It's copying. It's still going to stay on my desktop. A copy of it is, but it's creating a copy. I'm going to put it here in my project folders. Now notice here it says added folders, create groups or create folder reference. Basically it's the top one there, which basically means it's going to keep the group folder I've selected, which in this case is images. If I click the bottom one here, it's going to create a folder references for me. I don't recommend that. I recommend just keeping the top one. And what that's going to do is whatever you've clicked on in Xcode on the left, which in this case was images, that's where it's going to place this 456471127.jpg. So I'm going to go and click add and show you. There it is right there. And that's the image I just imported. And if I right click on that image, I can actually do the same thing on any file, by the way, I do here in Xcode. You can right click on there and show in Finder. And the nice thing about it is when you do that, it will not only open it up in the folder, it will highlight it in that folder, that file you right clicked on in Xcode. So you know exactly where it's at. That's why it's important, I guess, going back to what we talked about last week, when you're opening up your project in your Mac, that's why it's so important whenever you open it up to do what I mentioned last week, try to hammer it away anyway, I'll quit Xcode to show you, is within GitHub, once you've forked and cloned or you're going to another Mac and you're just trying to download a project of yours, you want to make sure that you go to that project in GitHub, which is my week 6 one here, control click and open in Finder is what I want to do. It'll take me right to that directory where that's found, to where I can open up that where that GitHub repository is located at. And the reason you do that is you could have, because you're practicing things, you could have multiple versions possibly on your Mac at that time, right? But if you're working on a version you want to submit to GitHub, this is the best way to know you're working on the correct version. Because I've had students just go to their Mac, open up a project, they work on it for hours, they commit and sync it, go to their group 3 weeks from now and go, okay, well, I made that change. Yeah, it's on GitHub. They go there and like, no, it's not there. What are you talking about? And the reason it's not there is they were on the wrong, they submitted the wrong version, basically. It was a version on their Mac that wasn't even maybe source controlled with GitHub. It was just outside of source control altogether. Does that make sense? So if you open up your projects every time, and I do it myself religiously, I will open up my projects through GitHub versus, this is the other way you can open it up, which I know you've done before, is fire up Xcode and you see all the newest and greatest here. That's fine when you're doing it the first time, right? Before you've ever submitted anything to GitHub, this is fine to open up a project this way, because it shows you the newest project that you've been open. The latest project is always going to be on top. That's fine. But as soon as you submit it to GitHub the very first time, always open up your project via the folder through GitHub. Make sense? That's going to save you tons of headache. I mean, tons of headache doing it that way, if you do it that way. So, okay, so let's do this. Continue on. We're almost done with the slides, and we're going to go right into the in-class. If you need help with the in-class, getting it forked and cloned, I'll help you in just a second. Otherwise, everybody else go ahead and do the fork and clone for the week 6 in-class while we're finishing up these last few slides. So rotation. The purpose of rotation on an iPhone or iPad is when you have an app running, you should be able to rotate it in some cases, not all the time, and that app will then orient itself for that rotation. Like the pictures tonight, if it's a portrait type of orientation for your iPad, it should be portrait orientation for the picture. If it goes to landscape, it should be landscape orientation. And there is some properties we'll look at tonight for images that allows you to do that, okay? The default property for images is going to be fill. Fill the entire image view with however big the view is that you have it on, okay, at that time. The other option is fit to content, or you could also fit it to within the confines of the picture, to fit it within that confines of the picture, to keep the dimensions of that picture regardless of what the orientation might be, whether it be landscape or portrait. So in the class assignment, what we're going to do is we're going to play around, have you fork and clone it to the desktop, the app. What we're going to do is run it first, see how it works. Then we're going to go right into the look at README, the README file that's on GitHub, and it's also on your local Mac when you fork and clone it. And I try to create a README on every one of these apps that we kind of see what it's doing, what you have to do to recreate it, all that good stuff. But the only thing you're going to do the in class is once we look at the code and see how it works, a little different than last week, so you can actually play with this a little bit more. I'm going to have you replace all the bands that I have in mind, which are the awesome bands, by the way, with your bands, okay? But that will mean you're going to have to change some stuff. You're going to have to change an array. You're going to have to change the names of the images that it's pulling, which that's helpful. You have to import those images that you download, okay, into the proper folder on GitHub. And so there's some stuff you're going to have to do correctly for it to work. We are going to be using an array this week, only one array, which I believe in the web one we did 2 arrays, right? We did 1 array for the name, 1 array for the URL. This week, we do 1 array for the name, and the same array is used for the name of the files. So whatever the name you call it, Eagles, is eagles.jpg, okay? It's going to be not only the name of the menu, but the name of the image as well. So whatever you name your menu item needs to match the name of the image as well, which we'll talk about as well tonight. And that's just that way we only have to use 1 array. All the images will be loaded locally on the iPad within the local repository. It'll actually push it to the simulator folder I showed you on the overhead on your Mac before it runs it. And once you do that and everything's working properly, when you've replaced your bands with my bands with your bands, you'll do run it successfully. You'll do a commit and sync. And when you do your commit and sync, just a reminder, because I know most everybody in here did a .edu with GitHub, make sure and select the public GitHub before you commit and sync it. Otherwise, when you send me the URL, I won't be able to see it. It'll say I can't see it. You don't have no rights to see it. And while we're talking about GitHub, I did create I did add everybody into iOS course inside a team called CIS280. You should have gotten an invite from me from GitHub because I did invite everybody in here. There's only 2 or 3 people that's accepted as of Saturday. So hopefully you got a chance to do that. If you didn't do that as of tonight, don't worry about it. Just check your whatever email you use to sign up for GitHub. It's that email I sent the invite to through GitHub to be a part of the team, CIS280. And all you have to do, I believe, is hit accept on the email that you're fine with that, because I can't force you to be a part of the team. But when you're a part of the team, let me just show you this before we actually get into the take-home or the in-class. Let me just show you what it looks like on the overhead, okay? Because teams you've not seen yet, so I'll make sure you understand it. If you look up on the overhead, and plus this will give you more time to do your fork and clone. If you look up on the overhead, here's our iOS course, right? You'll notice on the right side, see where it says Team 7? I'm going to go to our team, which is CIS280. And I have in here so far Oz1RBC. Who's that? Okay, that's you. Okay. So he's the only one thus far that's accepted. And when you got the email, you just had accept it, right? Once you signed into GitHub. Okay. So let me show you here what is in here. In fact, I should have 13 pending invitations right now. So you'll see your name up here, by the way, meaning you still got accepted, but don't feel bad. You just do it sometime. But the reason I want to show you this was I can add to the team here, which I've done for this semester. I'll be adding as we go on. All the repos that are in this team, CIS280, are the repos for this semester. I threw in there a couple repos, though, for some of you that are doing some final apps that might help you. In fact, who's doing the app on, I believe it's on, Tracy, you're doing the app on the GPS, using GPS location for finding folks or whatever, finding where they're at and the folks where they're at, right, and joining to. This app here I just created actually a little bit before the semester started or right after, called My Location. And what it does is when you run the app, it finds out right now where I'm at, and then what it does as the app moves, or actually every few milliseconds, it creates a pin on a map, and then when you hit stop, it just basically maps the coordinates of where that person went. So if I started right now and go home, hit stop, it shows on a map all the pins of where I went on the map. But this app shows you how to use location basically within a map environment, and it actually pins it on the map, and you can see it. You can see where you're at. Maybe they could see, and they would see where they're at, and you can find the coordinates to get between where they're at and where you're at to find you. So anyway, that's an app out there we've not went over this semester, but it's a app that you could probably definitely use called My Location. There's a couple other apps here I threw in here for Twitter. A couple people are going to be doing some Twitter type stuff. Twitter widget and a Twitter view. These two apps actually are still in Objective-C, and I'm going to be converting them, but I threw them in there anyway and left them in there. So anyway, I'll be throwing in this repository. If it starts with week whatever, it's what we're using in class or for the assignments. If it doesn't start with week whatever, it's just a resource for generally probably those that are creating their final app. I'll throw them right in here, the resources for you. Okay, make sense? So accept the invite if you've not done so between now and next week. We actually probably won't be using it much for a few weeks, but at least I'm starting to add in those repos that we're using, and this is a way for you to go into the CIS280 team and just view only those repos pertinent to this semester. Okay, so everybody get a chance to do the fork and clone to your Mac, and if you did, if you need help, let me know. Anybody need help? Okay, Ben? Those of you that got ahead when I did, go ahead and open it up for me on your Mac environment in Xcode. Okay, what did you do?
So I thought I did it right, but when I open it up,
You gotta do control click on your Mac, remember? Control click and open up with the latest version of Xcode. You have to do that every time. Control click, open with latest version of Xcode. Yeah, see the defaults like Xcode 5 on yours. That's why. Yeah, on the Macs in here, remember you have to do that every time. Open with latest version of Xcode. Yep. I'll make sure you get up. Make sure it's opened up here for you. Okay, do this for me. Hit Xcode. Hit Xcode over here. And quit. And click on my faves over here. Expand it. And then go to Xcode About. Make sure you're on Xcode 6. Okay, cool. Anybody else need help getting Xcode open for the project? Okay, cool. Well, let's go and do this. Every time and I did this earlier tonight, it's always good practice anyway, when you open a project that's not yours, or if it's been a while since you've been in that project, it's always a good idea to do a clean and a build, so we're all going to do this together. If you go up to the product menu of Xcode in pretty much the very middle of your Mac screen, the product menu, you want to go down to clean, product clean. When it's completed, it'll say with a pop-up, clean succeeded. Okay? And what we've just done basically is wiped out all build files in Xcode and deleted them, is what we've just done. Now go to product build, and it's going to build that app and compile it. And this will take a little bit longer than the clean, by the way. Once it's finished, it should finish successfully by saying succeeded at the top. Like mine says, my fave bands, build my fave band succeeded today at 8:47. Yeah, don't worry about that. Show you how it works. Okay, so when you first run the app, it comes up to a splash screen image, which basically what this is when you do a master detail, and you'll be creating one for the take home, you create a blank master detail. Remember, in the detail part has a label there. Have you delete the label, and this is basically, before anybody clicks anything, this is a screen I want them to see, which is my bands, and it says select from the lesser than symbol menu. So click on that and begin going to the different artists. You'll notice when you click on a menu, it collapses the master menu and views the detail. There was a little bit of code I had to put in there for that to happen. That doesn't happen automatically by default on a master detail when you're in a portrait mode. But let me go back to Joe Cocker, and I'm going to go up and do a simulator to go back to rotate left. And you'll notice when I do rotate left, Joe Cocker now goes back, and now his fit aspect is what it's called. It's a fit aspect to that screen view for him to see everything. It's not morphed at all. But you'll notice in the landscape view that the menu shows up all the time. And that's the way it should be for this app, for this master detail. The menu shows up all the time because that's how I have the app, use of the app to work. If I go back to hardware rotate right, it now goes back to actually, in some cases, depending upon the original makeup of the image. Like in this case, this is a landscape image. So there's eagles in portrait mode, but it's a landscape image. If I go to rotate left, it shrinks it down even more because of this real estate over here that's being taken up by some of the menu. All right, but it does keep an aspect. It is an aspect view versus stretch view on all these. So what I want to do is show you real quickly what's happening here. There is, by the way, we can view it from GitHub. If you want to just have me view it, that's fine. You can just watch it. In the GitHub repo or in your download folder, either one, there's two text files, one for the master, one for the detail. But also there's a README file here that says my band's preparation, download 8 images of your favorite band, rename them to whatever your band name is, .jpeg, or it could be a PNG, either one would work. Create a new master detail project. Before, this is for your take home, but before you do the number one, make sure and download your images first and that they all are viewable and you've named them. Recommendation on name, you can put spaces in name, you're fine with that, okay? But just note that whatever you name the image is going to be what you need to name the menu, what the menu name is going to be. Yeah, do you have a question?
Yeah, two things on the images. One, does resolution make a difference? And two, what's the size preference?
Doesn't matter on either one for this week. No, it doesn't matter. Now, if this was going to be a live app for the App Store, yeah, you'd want to make sure it's a PNG. I recommend a PNG image format, number one. Making sure the resolution is at least at a 1600 DPI resolution. PNG is what I recommend for any images on your iOS device. That makes sense? PNG, the reason it's nicer for PNG is it keeps the pixels and the layering format within the image and just looks nicer. Same thing with the icons. It's PNG is what I recommend. So preparation, download 8 images. For this week, you can just do JPEG. They're not going to be as large, and don't worry about dimensions or anything. Just make sure there are 8 separate images. Name it. Then create a master detail. No core data. It's going to be an iPad project. You'll delete the label on the detail view controller. You'll add a UI image to detail view controller. And this is an important part. Make sure the view mode is called aspect fit. You'll create an outlet of that product, UI image and call it product image view. Create a new group, named images, and add the images you downloaded during preparation. Step 5, follow the instructions in the master view controller. Step 6, follow the instructions or comments in the detail view controller. then compile and run. So let me just show you how, going to the code here real quick, how it works. Let's first of all go to master, or take it back. Let's first of all go to appdelegate, appdelegate.swift. Appdelegate.swift I want us to go to first. And at the bottom of appdelegate.swift, there is a split view at the very bottom. You guys see that? It says split view, function split view controller. See that function? One thing I want you to notice in this function is in the third nested if statement. Third nested if statement where it says if top is detail controller dot detail item equals nil. Everybody see that? That's getting that from the detail view, which we're going to keep in there, by the way. This top as detail viewer dot detail item equals nil. What this is doing is determining whether or not the detail view item had been clicked on the menu. Every time you click on something in the menu, it populates this variable called detail item in detail view. And so I just wanted to mention that you're not actually changing anything here. I just want to show you that's what's driving whether or not the menu knows, the detail knows that the master menu has been clicked on by this split view function. And app delegate, I have mentioned this before, app delegate is a global function for your application that you can put in there things like global variables, like in this case, or global functions that encompass the entire application. But let's first of all go to, after app delegate, I want to go to master view controller. Just like last week, they're numbered in the comments, and you're not going to be typing in code this week for time. I'm going to have you download images though and replace stuff. But when you do the take home, you'll have this to work from. On number 1, you're going to comment out var objects, which is a default line for master detail. Number 2, you're going to create a new MS mutable, which we just commented out above, called list array. Then number 3, you're going to comment out the edit button. Remember, on a master detail by default, there's an edit button and a plus button. Remember, on the plus button, you keep adding dates and times of that current date and time you're at. And the edit button you click on, and you can edit all those menus, remember? And then you click on each menu, and it takes you to the detail item label. So you comment out the edit button. You're going to populate number 4, the array of band names from images you downloaded. And I put in the comment here, names must match the file names without extension. List array I have on mine is Joe Cocker, Leonard Skinner, Eagles, Journey, 38 Special, Miranda Lambert, Little Big Town, and Van Perry. And you guessed it, every name I have in here, if I expand my images group, matches the names of the JPEG on the left here on the overhead. Okay, so when you're naming your list array, just expand your images to see, okay, I'm naming them correctly as I'm going across. Each array is encapsulated by quotes and separated by commas, each item in the array. All right, and again, Joe Cocker, Leonard Skinner, Eagles, Journey, 38 Special, Miranda Lambert, Little Big Town, and Van Perry are my arrays. Mike, do you have a question?
Yeah, are we just doing this way because it's a clean way of doing it? Or anytime you'd ever do this, you'd have to...
It's a clean way to do it. No, you don't have to do it this way. It's just a clean, easy way to do it to show you how you can use one array for multiple purposes. Make sense? Because you could create another array and name it whatever you wanted to for those images.
Well, I don't mean about the array. I mean the items for calling the pictures.
The list array equals?
The string that you're using, like Joe Cocker, space Cocker.
That's going to show up in the menu.
Well, you can't ever have it be different, like that be a variable or something. I guess you could have it.
You could have a variable, right? You could definitely have it a variable too. It wouldn't have to be just a string. It could be a variable. Yeah, definitely. And that string and that variable could definitely be a string as well. Yeah, for sure. Yep. And all you need to know is if it's a variable, you wouldn't need to enclose it in quotes. It'd just be, separated by commas. Good question though. Number 5, you comment out the add button. There's 2 lines on that, the let add button and self.navigate item. 6, remember when we did the web one, I had you guys physically change the title, I believe, to my fave websites or something. You physically went in there and changed it on the master. Well, this one, you're doing it in code. with this line of code. Title equals my favorite bands. Okay, for your take home, let's say you're doing yours on cars, my favorite recipes, my favorite songs, whatever it might be. So you can do it in code, which I recommend doing because you can then change it down the road without having to go in and change it on an actual object. Step 7, you're commenting out the insert function. You don't need that. The insert function is the plus symbol on the original master detail. Then step 8, you're replacing the word object, which was an array by default, with the new list array object, and you're replacing NSDate, which was the original type, with string on number 8. Number 9, you're adding 3 lines of code that will have an error on these 3 lines of code, by the way, because these have not yet been, some of these objects have not been created. Control.detail item equals object will not throw an error because detail item is already in detail view controller. We'll see in a second. But controller.product name and controller.product URL, those two will have an error because they don't exist yet. Now, just stop for a second and tell you the product name equals object is going to be used for in the detail view, the title of the detail view at the top. That's what it's going to be used for. The product URL is going to be used for the image name with the file extension. So that's why I have on there object. So if they've clicked on, for instance, 38 special, on that line, what's going to populate product URL is 38 special.jpg. Make sense? On that line right there. 10, you're going to, it says here to hide the menu after tapping it. Self.splitViewController question mark dot toggle master view. That one you'll get an error at as well because they're not added that function yet, but just keep going on. 11, comment out return objects.count, replace it with, on step 12, list array.count, which is going to populate it with a list of bands. Then step 12, or step 13, you're going to comment out, 13 and 14, you're going to comment out 2 functions. Both of these functions, by the way, are for the editing button. Since we're not going to use it, we can comment it out. Technically, we wouldn't have to comment it out, but that's just less code for the compiler to have to hit. If you don't comment out code that you're not going to use, your compiler still hits it. Now, granted, it's not going to really matter much, but I like to be as clean as possible, more as efficient as possible with the compiler. Even though, granted, most of your iPads and iPhones have built boatloads of memory, it's still good. It's good standards to make good use of the memory in your apps. Step 15. Now you'll notice on step 15, this is outside of the last curly bracket, the right curly bracket. This one here is actually called an extension. And in iOS 8, they added such things called extensions to where we can add powerful things to our apps. Some of those extensions we can add to our apps is we can hook into, like, say, the power of a camera app on maybe doing a lighting up of a picture or video app of a filter, or maybe we could tie into the iTunes radio with an extension. We could tie in an extension is basically iOS app objects that we can pull from now with extensions. We can pull from in our own app to use. And this extension here is an app to share. You'll notice here in the extension it's called Extension UI Split View Controller, but that's not the power of it here. In a second I'll show you where it says function toggle master. Let bar button equals self.display mode item button. All that's doing is declaring a button object here. The next line is where the power comes in, where it says UI application.shared application.send action bar button item.action to bar button action target from nil for event nil. All this is doing is using the global object for a button on any app. You can use this function to call, if you look up higher on step number 10, where it says self.splitView.toggleMaster, what this is doing when it calls this function is basically going to take that and send the action to the button to close it, because it's going to make the menu seem as a button. And when it seems as a button, it's allowed to close. The only other way to close a menu, by the way, is to hit the detail. Remember, on a master view, with the masters up and the views up, details up, the only way to close master on a portrait level is to tap on the detail. Tap on the detail. When you tap on it, it's a click event. Well, this is calling that click event. Simulated click event is what it's doing with an extension. Okay, so that's kind of new from the last master detail. Now let's go to the detail view controller. This one's not as much. Number one, comment out the detail view, detail description label that we deleted. Next, number two, comment out self.configure view. Number three, notice it says errors will start going away on master view controller at number three. You're going to create a variable called product name, which is going to be called a did set value. A did set value is important in the detail view because we're actually populating these in the master view. But if you don't create a string that's called a did set string, it's not going to use that variable. It's not going to use that value. It's not going to pass over that value without being a did set. So we do a did set for product name, a did set for product URL, number three. Number four, modify the existing configure view to, it says here, if let detail is any object equals self.detail item. What this means is if there's something in the detail item from the master view, meaning they clicked on something, it's going to populate that image view with the name of that product URL, which is going to be, might be what? Miranda Lambert.jpg, Leonard Skinner.jpg, so on and so forth. It's getting it from the product URL passed from the master. Number five, modify the override view did load. Remember, this is what's ran when the app is run on this view. I added in here on purpose a couple print line functions to show you what's happening when the app's running. I'm printing out product URL each time and product name each time, every time it hits. If the product name is nil, meaning there's nothing in it, and it's always going to be nil the first time the app runs without clicking on anything, it's going to be nil. Okay, if it's nil, that's when that first image comes up, and the first image is main.png, which is this image right here. I have it load, meaning it's just ran the first time. It never comes back to this image, by the way, once you've clicked on the master menu one time. And you can replace that with your own image, by the way. I just brought it in Pixlr and created this image in Pixlr. Then, after we modified, done the print view or print line, put in the if statement for the main.png, the product name now becomes the title of the detail, and then it calls the self.configure view. So let me run this again to show you the print lines that are happening. If you look on the overhead, see the two print lines? Product URL, product name equals nil. You have the same on yours. If I click on Joe Cocker, now I've got product URL, joecocker.jpg, product name, Joe Cocker. So every time I click one of these, it's going to do a print line. And you say, what's the purpose of print line? The user's not going to see it. Exactly. But you as a developer will see it, and you're seeing what's happening as the program's running. So when it goes to production, if you were to push this to the App Store, you would comment out this code before going to production. Leave it in there because you're still going to might need it down the road when you're in further development and running it. Make sense? And so comment it out only for you to see. End users won't see it. It does take up a little bit of processing power, so that's why it's important to comment it out before you go. And Apple, by the way, won't catch it. If you were to submit it to the App Store with these in there, they're not going to reject it because they don't look at your code anyway. All they look at is your images, that they meet the marketing standards, that it doesn't throw any errors in the back end of the app. That's it. That's all they look at. And your name doesn't go against marketing standards as well, like meaning it doesn't look like another app. That's about all they look at anymore, which is nice because I have people sometimes say, well, this app's buggy. That's weird. Apple doesn't check for bugs. Apple checks for, they run it to see if it matches the naming standards of Apple, the image standards of Apple, and it's not running any processes in the back end it shouldn't be running, like processes like FTP into, I don't know, using iTunes store or something like that. That would be a bad process. It would catch that. And it would say, no, you can't do that. You can't hook yourself into the Apple store and start doing stuff. So it would find that. But beyond that, code-wise, it's not going to reject it for that. So anyway, go ahead and do this. It's 9:22. Let me do this. Instead of all the images, for time's sake, I'm going to have you create 3 images. Just replace 3 of the bands with your own 3 band names. I don't care which ones they are. Okay. Go to the Google, find 3 bands that you like that are not what I like, even though you might like mine. Find 3 bands that you like, download them to your desktop, import them into the images folder, and then you're going to have to rename the array to whatever your bands are and match the name of the images.